Hello everyone. In today's video we're going to continue our Peter K. Thomas gnathological waxing of the mandibular posterior teeth. As you remember, we have two premolars, first and second, and then a lower first molar, 5 cusps. Make sure you start learning all of these, how many cusps, who's the biggest, who's the smallest. These are all questions on the National Board exam. So in the last video we did the mesial and distal marginal ridges. And if you remember from when we were looking at the book, the contact was on the distal marginal ridge. So we waxed distal, distal, distal. Once that was established and we hit the contact point, we closed it in centric, working, balancing, protrusion, retraction. Once that was done, we jumped over to the mesial. We know they're both the same size, so one matched the other. If you do it backwards, you'll have no idea. If you try to do both at the same time, you have no idea. So let's go with the plan and continue along. So before we do that, let me go back to the book. And remember, before you do anything, stop and look at what you're trying to accomplish. Remember, this is the master model. If your final wax up looks like this, you wind up with an A in lab. If your final wax up does not look like this, then you don't wind up with an A. So this model should be in front of you at all times. The book should be in front of you. The video should be in front of you. So let's look at what we're going to do now. We've already done the entire outline in various colors. Now we're going to move into the triangular ridges. So before we start anything, let's stop and look at them. They have a general triangular shape. They are wider down in the center. They're narrow in the top. I find most students, for some reason, are doing them upside down. They're making them wider here and narrow in the center. If you look at where the contact points are, if I accidentally did this upside down, and instead of my point being here, if my point was down there, I would never reach these. I would actually, the contact would be off to the side. It would never, so when I do the wax up, I always add, it's like a teardrop. I always start in the center. So the first drop I add, I do not add like this, I add this way, mesial distal. So then as soon as I have the contact, I know I've established it, then I can finish this. So let's move on to the next page before we start. Next page shows the lingual side. So here we were just looking at the buccal. You notice they all tend to lean in towards the middle. You look at the two linguals, one comes in and curves to the center. The other one comes in, two contacts, curves to the center. You're so used to making transverse ridges, that's a problem, because now if you try to do that, it's not going to work. These are really, they are not transverse ridges, they're triangular ridges, and the contact, remember, mesiolingual cusp of the upper first molar occludes with the central fossa of the lower first molar. So if you wind up just doing them straight all the way across, you're never going to have the correct contact. So okay, so now that we know this, and again, you should look at the book, you should think about it, figure out what you're going to do before you even start. So let me go back, and in no particular order, we'll start. Let's jump over to another color. I think you all have multi-colors, and I think you have a large octagon block of wax that you got in first semester, which is similar to what I have here. So I just want to do it in different colors so you can see where we are. So first thing I'm going to establish, let's try an easy one. Let's go with the triangular ridge, buccal cusp. I'm going to start down in the center. I'll establish that, then here. Then I jump to the lingual, and I finish that. And we're going to go from tooth to tooth to tooth. I'll do a few of them. I don't need to do all of them in the video, but I'll do a few just to get things started. And there's not that much at this point. So if you can see, I'm adding a very small amount. Remember, the whole idea is not to have to change anything, not to cut anything away. So I'm building, oh, and also besides being shaped like a triangle, it is not concave, it's convex. So therefore, the ridge is sticking up into the occlusal surface. If you accidentally make it concave like a slide, you'll get the shape, but you'll never get the contact. So again, we're doing everything with the PKT instrument. I noticed the PKTs that most of you have are way too fat. So in the beginning of the course, as we're articulating, if you come up one at a time, I'll take your PKT instrument, I'll bring it over to the bench grinder, and I'll taper it down so you have a nice skinny tip. I don't think any of you have anything like this or anything like this. I'm sure most of your tips look like this one. compared to what I have. Big difference. You can't possibly wax with anything like this. So if this is what you have, bring it up and I can change yours from a fat tip. I'll grind it so you have a nice skinny one. It'll give you smaller drops. There'll be no changing. There'll be nothing to correct, and everything will come out right the first time. So I'm building up the triangular ridge. Think you can see it. So let's close it and see if I have my contact. And there's my first contact. So if you look carefully, get that little extra, you can see that I'm touching, and if you look at the textbook, I've just established that contact. Now I can flick over to the other page. I'll go to the lingual side and I'll do the other one. And again, you refer to the book each time. If you try to take shortcuts, it's never going to work. And then as the cases become more complicated, you'll just be more confused. So let's continue with this one. And the lingual, as you know, on a mandibular first premolar, the buccal cusp is the bigger. The lingual one is the smaller. It is a non-functional cusp, so you do not see contact on the tips. You see a little bit of contact down into the center. So let's close it down. And there it is, just popped in. Close the articulator, centric occlusion, move it in working, balancing, protrusion, and retraction. Now I have all of that. I can switch over to whatever carving instrument I have. Take small instrument. I can come in and accentuate the secondary grooves, triangular fossa, distal triangular, central groove, lingual developmental groove, touch up the secondaries, take my brush, tooth is finished. It's that simple if you do it correctly and you don't overdo it and you have nothing to change. Again, if you're not sure, take the master model, and if you're not sure how to touch it up, go back to the master model, hold the model, let's try another one. Hold the model in your hand, take your instrument, and just follow through these grooves. So if you're getting used to the movement, everything's curved, there's nothing straight in anatomy. So if you want to carve a triangular fossa, make believe you're carving it. Get the hang of going like this on the model, and once you can do that, then translate it, come down here, and actually do it. So there's my triangular ridge. So now I would do the same thing on the second premolar, except remember, on the first premolar I had one lingual cusp. Here I have two lingual cusps. So the anatomy is slightly different. The triangular, there is a mesial and distal pit, but if you come to the second, there's a mesial, distal, and central pit. Here you don't have a central pit, here you do because of the two cusps. And the central groove is shaped like a letter Y. So you're not going straight across. On this one, it's relatively straight across. But on the second one, it doesn't go straight across mesial, it goes down. So when you're carving it, you'll carve down, 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 and it'll be shaped actually like the letter Y. So on this one, totally different, not the same teeth. Here you're pretty much going straight across, but on the second one, when you accentuate the anatomy, the secondary grooves, you will not go right to left. You'll come down, 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 and that'll leave you with 3 pits, right? But I think you're capable of doing that. Let's go over to the molar, the more difficult. I've already, from the last video, I marked it in red so you can see the direction of the cusps. The contacts, let's take it in blue. The contacts are here, 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 and here. So I marked the direction, but I've marked the contacts looking at the textbook. So if I flip over to the appropriate page, let's look at it first before we start. I just marked all of these contacts with a blue pencil. So I know where I'm going. And remember, you have to know where you're going before you start. Don't just start throwing down wax. You're just wasting time. Time is money. So let's get it right the first time. Okay, so here we go. Let's try, for no reason, let's just pick one. Let's pick the mesiolingual. And if you notice, it comes in a curved direction. You're probably going to have a little trouble doing this. You've never done it before. Start down in the center. Seeing that the contact is down there somewhere, I always like to establish the contact first. So I'm just going to do one cusp for the video, but once you get the hang of this, you'll be able to do all of them. And again, if you don't like it, just rip it out. Don't try to fix it. Take a hot instrument, cut it out, do it over correctly. You may do it a few times. You can even practice on the base of the model right here. If you're not sure, you can take a pen, make a little curve, if that's what it's going to look like. Take some wax, make believe you're carving it or waxing it, and you can actually come in here and make a curve. If you can make a curve here, then you can do it there. If you can't do it here, you're not going to be able to do it on your wax up either. So let me keep going, and then in a second I'll close the articulator and see if I've reached that contact. Close it down. Yep, just showed up. So again, I'll be doing all of this in the laboratory. You'll see it much better. We have a video visualizing machine, so this will all be projected up on a very large screen. So either you can come up and watch it when I do it, or you can sit at the lab bench and you'll be able to watch it. I'll zoom in and you'll be able to see it, and the videos will be posted on Blackboard anyway for you to watch at other times. Okay, so all I did, I waxed this one little cusp, close it down, touched in centric occlusion. Now move it working and balancing. Remember, put your thumbs on both sides. You can push with one thumb, push two thumbs, then both at the same time. I'm protruding, retracting, right and left, lateral movement. Look at it. I now have it, so now I've established the triangular ridge on the mesial-lingual cusp. And if you notice, it curves, it goes into the center, the contact's down here. Now I would go over to the other side. If you look at it, they're mirror images of each other, so I can do the same thing there. Then I can come to the mesial buccal, I can do that one. Then I can come to the distobuccal cusp and do that. Then lastly, the little tiny one, distal cusp, all by itself in the corner. We can do that one last. Then we'll take our carving instrument, touch up the anatomy a little bit. That side's done. So it's actually, it looks simple, it's not, but you'll get the hang of it as you keep working with it. But remember, look at the book first, think of what you're doing, keep this master model in front of you at all times. The book has to be in front of you, because at this point you do not know any of these contacts. You're going to be learning them one at a time. All right, so for today's, that's it for today's video. I'll touch this up, I'll have it completely finished. On the next video, at the beginning, I'll show you the final product, what it looks like. So you'll see it, you'll have something to follow, you'll see the final video, and then we will start on project number 2. So the next video, we'll just have a discussion, we'll finish with this case, we'll start the next one. Number 2 is similar, but it's somewhat different because it's maxillary teeth, these are mandibular. Okay, that's it for now. Good luck.